All right, here we go. All right, guys, we are live. This is the Difference Makers. My name is Justin Timani. I will be your host today. Today we have with us Claire Bays. And so Claire's got an interesting story in the world of CrossFit and in life, but I called her before the show to ask her if it was okay to call her an accidental influencer. And that's kind of, she was like, yeah, I like that. That's good. So Claire is the accidental influencer that has come up in the kind of CrossFit functional fitness space in the last little bit. So Claire, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, I actually wanted to start by saying thank you to you for asking me to be here. And then also just thank you for the listeners, everybody who's listening right now. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, these guys are the best. So, okay, I jokingly said accidental influencer, but what the heck happened? Because 2 months ago, 3 months ago, let's actually backtrack even further. Let's go to Rogue. I think I met you the first time at Rogue. You were working with Wit.
Yes.
And, we were talking there. You were very lovely. Your whole team was wonderful. And then
Yes. Yeah, thank you.
we met again. We came cross paths at WODProof. And in that like short time, your Instagram had grown a little bit, but since then, it has like exploded.
Right.
So,
this is true.
So what happened here? What changed? What did you do? And like, how did this all kind of come about with the influencer status? I don't mean for that to be like a demeaning term.
No, yeah, not at all. I'm sorry, my dog might intermittently.
That's okay. Dog content is key on anything.
You are welcome here. Okay. So yeah, accidental is the most accurate way to describe this. I think it was never an intention, and even still, it's all just it has happened so fast, and so it's very surreal. And initially, when things started to gain a lot of traction, it was just like imposter syndrome and like what because yes, I did actually. If we backtrack to kind of, I guess, what feels like the start for me, I will say that I started doing CrossFit a little over 6 years ago now. And anyway, this past year was the first time that I had gone to the games. So 2021, went to the games. I was already planning to go. Our affiliate was sending a team. And so I have this tendency to want to work like all the time.
Yeah, I've been there.
I was aware of the fact that WIT was going to have a big presence there, but was also having some problems with travel restrictions thanks to COVID at the time. And so I just sent emails saying, hey guys, I know that you guys are going to be there. And if you need people to work, I'm available. I'll be there. And then it just like waited and pretended that it like wasn't received and sent it again. And anyway, next thing you know, I wound up getting the opportunity to work for WIT at the games. And so since then I also went and worked at Rogue Invitational, which is where we met. And so that was cool. And then have gotten to work Wodapalooza with them. And so just kind of like growing my relationship with WIT. And so that I would say was my introduction to the CrossFit community at large, right? I got my L1 in 2020. I've been around CrossFit for a long time. Spoiler alert, we can certainly talk about this more. I am not an athlete. I did not grow up playing sports. So it's been a very slow, steady thing for me. But anyway, so in Miami, the comment was simply made, hey, we would like for you to make more content, real and TikTok friendly content. And I was like, okay. And now we're here. So that was in January of this year. And now we're at the end of April of this year. In January, I would say that at Wodapalooza, there were probably followers, which is still, it's just a community to me, right? And it's cool because it was always a community to me before, as far as like you curate by who you follow and things like that, but not in the following sense. So that's still all just weird to wrap my brain around. But nonetheless, so my followers were probably less than 3,000 at the time of Wodapalooza. And now here we are at the end of April, and it's like, creeping up on 24,000. And that's just cool.
So just a cool 20K in 2 months
Correct.
have
Yeah.
jumped on, and that's just Instagram, and then never mind like TikTok and other, you know, and that platform.
Yeah.
So that's a crazy thing, and I think that speaks to the power of social media now and what types of content are going out there. But like a lot of the stuff that you're posting, I mean, not that you're not just posting video, but a lot of it is around video content and fun reels and just like you're having fun with it, it looks like.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why when it started to grow and it started to gain a lot, like there were definitely some videos that, of course, just like how social media works, some of it goes like more viral, right? And so,
Mhm.
first one that gets over 100,000 views, and then shortly thereafter, one of them goes over 500,000. And that's happened more than once. And so, anyway, as that occurred, of course, then a lot more followers come and so on. And so, people in my life were like, "Whoa, hey, Claire, what's going on? Do you see what's happening? Or like, what are you doing? Are you doing?" And I was
Yeah.
just yeah, I don't know. It's crazy, and it is. But for me, at that time, and still to this day, the way that I feel about whatever content I do choose to create, it's um, it has to feel right and true for me. And so, as far as like what is my strategy, of course, today now I will say I'm more mindful and aware of the fact that like the frequency of posting and what I have learned things from January to now, and I still have tons to learn. Um, but as far as like having some sort of strategy with it, because I do view it as a very unique opportunity.
Yeah.
And that's the cool thing that like, say you come to my Instagram page because I posted some voiceover where I'm acting like an idiot and I'm having fun and whatever. But then you land there and then hopefully you're able to also stick around long enough to see something of value. And not that that's not because I mean I have fun with it. That has its own value. It has its own place. Uh,
Yeah.
I love that people are receptive to it and I get to like enjoy that with that community. That's cool. But then to me, there are just bigger topics in life that like I want to talk about. And so
Yeah.
having the opportunity to use social media in that way is very new to me, but very exciting.
Yeah. And your content and the way that you've gone about it isn't just like forcing any sort of topic onto people. I mean, other than just like some CrossFit fun and
Yeah.
like just some silly stuff, but like nothing ever feels like forced, and it feels very natural how your content kind of flows together.
Yeah.
Um, and some of that is very personal stuff too, and some of the things that you've gone through, and that's where I think it's probably the hardest, but the most meaningful to talk about at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. Vulnerability is, I mean, do you want me to just run with that?
Yeah, you can go with it. Yeah, you know, you're open book. You're good.
Yeah, I mean, so, I had a really unique experience last year. Um, just for context for listeners who don't know me, by the way, I'm 29. So last year I'm 28, and an event occurs in my life, and in February of 2020, my grandmother passed away. And so my grandmother had the largest hand in raising me. And so it's the first time I'm experiencing grief on this scale. And I didn't handle it well. I grew up using alcohol as a coping mechanism. And it started out like using alcohol does for most people, it's just fun. And then over time it progressed. And so when my grandmother passed away, I really ran with that and was like, I don't want to feel things. And so unfortunately got myself into a situation where I shouldn't have been there. And whether I know how I got there or not, it's neither here nor there. I was there. And so it just came to a time where it's like, I have to own my actions. And even if I don't know how I got here, like I still got here. So this coping mechanism is now creating trauma. And with all of that, which I know that's a lot to dump really fast. So sorry.
That's
Uh,
okay. You're good.
but it unfortunately I say unfortunately, I do feel like that was the best thing that ever happened to me. It was a public occurrence, and so not only was I experiencing a traumatic event, but it
Mhm.
was made very public through Instagram. And so hundreds of people that know me saw this occur, and not my version of the story. And so all of a sudden, all the judgment, and I mean judgment for myself was just as large, if not larger than any of the rest of that, as far as, feeling unrecognizable to myself. and being like, how did I get here? How am I this person? I don't even know her anymore. I'm just running away from my problems and creating more problems as I go. And I guess the trauma pile stacked up so high that I was like, I have to change. I have to start to do things differently. And that's a scary place to be, but it's also, it's the birthplace of some really cool stuff if you let it be. So because all of that was so public, that's part of what kind of gives me, I guess, the willingness or desire to be so publicly vulnerable about all of it is because it was public. And
Yeah.
so I was always so concerned. Like I've always, and to this day, I have this, I think we all do. We have this like need to be like seen and loved. Like we want everybody to love us and we want to be seen. We want to be heard. And I was so desperate for your approval that that was kind of my North Star. And so all of a sudden, whenever everything kind of came crashing down on me and all these people that I was so desperate for their approval, I wasn't getting it. I had to take a look and be like, I don't approve.
Yeah.
Who am I? And so that's what this past year since then has really been all about for me. So that's why I'm able to be so public about it, I guess.
Yeah. And I mean, would you say that, excuse me, would you say that like some of that like public acceptance, like, is that weird to kind of deal with that now that there is a little bit more attention on you? Like, is that a weird thing to have to now balance out again?
Um, I think everything ebbs and flows with it. I think because of the fact that I had a good number of months there where I was really spending a lot of time and energy trying to get to know myself again. And, being in therapy, being in a 12-step program, you name it, like those are all parts of my story over this past year that have
Mhm.
helped so fortunately today, and everything is one day at a time. So we'll see as we go. But I haven't felt overwhelmed by what's going on social media. Thankfully, people are super encouraging and supportive by and large.
Yep.
But it really, all of that work this last year is, who are you? What are your values? Are you living in your values? Are you doing the things that like you can be proud of? And so thanks to all of that, I think that as it becomes more public, if anything, the support system just grows. I don't know that that's a part that's been too hard yet.
Yeah.
So,
Good. Because you often hear about a lot of negativity on social media and comments and things like that, and so you just never know. Like I was saying earlier, that even with things I post on social media, people don't think that I'm the photographer or the person behind the camera. People think I'm the one in the videos or photos or
yeah,
whatever.
right.
So like at times, like I'll get posts, comments, and I'm like, you have no idea. Like, this like random person saying like, "Oh, I love you so much." And it's like, no, like you don't, that's not directed to me. That's directed at the person who I've tagged in this, who probably is not paying attention to this.
Yeah.
And like, go to their page. But that's off topic from what I was saying for you. But it's like the attention on social media, like it can be so mixed, and people have quick trigger fingers with their keyboards.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wasn't that a Drake line? Twitter fingers turned to trigger fingers turned to Twitter fingers.
Oh, I think so. I think
I
so.
think that is it. Anyways,
Not going to pretend to be knowledgeable on it. Um, but yeah, no, I think thankfully there's been very little of like the negativity. But of course there certainly is. More than anything, there are definitely like strange DMs or whatever, but that's just part of it. And but you know, you think about, what am I going to give attention to? What am I going to give energy to? If I see a comment or whatever that pops up that is, especially if it's derogatory towards like a certain class of people or something like that, like it's being deleted immediately,
Yeah.
I might block that person. But if it's just negative in general, like that's not what my page is about, negativity. So not to say that I'm not going to be open to like constructive criticism, and if that pops up there, then that's something that like, okay, let's take a look at that. But people are always going to have their opinions. They're always going to, and that's theirs. And that's, one of the things about social media is what I touched on briefly before, that I always looked at it as like a place where you can create this community or this space. And so you have to have boundaries with it.
Yeah.
And what content am I consuming, and how does that make me feel? And is that promoting the things in my life that I want to strive towards or not? And so maybe that even means muting accounts of people that are loved ones. I mean, those are things that I think are important. Yeah, because you can still love people and need to have boundaries with them.
I 100% agree with you, and I've had to do that before.
Yeah, and it's not that you don't care about them. You do, but
Yeah.
you have to have your own level of like, am I good? Because if I'm showing up without boundaries, then suddenly like now we're going to have resentments, and it's just not going to be a good deal for anybody. And so I mean, everybody can handle that however they see fit, and with anything in life. But yeah, I think that social media is a space to be thinking about those things too, because it can be a space where you can go to and get inspiration and have positive interactions, and and then it can also be a draining place, and it's what you let it be.
You know what? I've seen somebody quote this before and say, like, your biggest hater is probably somebody you know, and your biggest lover is probably somebody you've never met that's on the internet, or biggest supporter.
Yeah.
And that's actually, I mean, I don't want to say that's true, but I've noticed that from being more engaging in social spheres of like, especially in the content creator sphere, where like a lot of us have just like hype each other up all the time. And I love seeing it. And it's like super, like, it helps everybody get better.
Yes.
And it helps to support your fellow creators. And like, even around like WODProof and the games, like all the photographers were tagging stories and videos of the other photographers doing their thing.
Watching
it's awesome to see.
So cool.
Say that again.
Just watching you guys' culture with one another. For one, the work ethic of content creators that go to these events. And I mean, like, that at the games had to have been one of my biggest takeaways. And then every time since then, y'all work so hard. Like, it's incredible. And then, yeah, to see you guys support each other, like you do, is just really cool, because there is room for everyone. And you guys really seem to have a good grasp on that. And anyway, sorry.
Like the one thing I was worried about, or not worried about, but like thought there would be, is like a lot more beef between the creators. Not beef, but like, like everybody's kind of fighting for the same thing, but at the same time, we're not. Like everybody's got their camp that they work for, their companies that they're working for, or whatever. And then if like you get a shot of my guy and I get a shot of your guy, and like nobody cares. It's like, that's a good angle. That's a good shot. Like everybody's cool with it, that I've seen so far and that I've experienced so far. So it's really awesome to see that.
Yeah.
For you, with like all of this growth in social media, like you mentioned quickly that you've left your real estate position, or your position as a real estate agent. Was that sparked by the growth in social media and some of your ability to do more freelance work, or was it more the lifestyle of it, or what kind of sparked that?
What's up, guys? Justin here. I'm really sorry to interrupt the show, but we're here to talk about something special. This is to talk about Bionic. Bionic is a first of its kind AI-based motion tracking mobility test that's designed to show you what your body is really doing. We've designed 7 unique tests that show you your range of motion for different joints throughout your entire body and how they work together. Once you're done the test, you'll be given a body map score, which breaks down your entire body and their different range of motion. From there, the WODProof app will also design a mobility program specifically tailored to your needs and the things you want to improve. I can't wait for you guys to try out the test. Go download the WODProof app today, start your free 7-day trial, and try Bionic today. All right, guys, back to the show.
I wouldn't say lifestyle, because I've had a really wonderful life in real estate. So my quality of life and I've gotten a lot out of being, because for the past 5+ years, I've been a residential real estate agent in the Oklahoma City metro area, for context. And I just closed my last transaction with that last week. And so started to have conversations with a brand in November about the idea of exiting real estate and going more all in with the fitness industry. And then, of course, in January and so on, it's all just kind of stacked upon itself. I sat with that for a couple of months I'd say through the holidays, for sure, of like, is that something I really want to do? Because when they first asked about it, I was like, oh, but I like my life and I like my job. So I don't know, but I think that I will say, as far as like what is to come, is very gray for me. There's a lot of new opportunity and no certainty, but like I feel purpose here,
Yeah.
and so that's the cool thing. And I don't know if I fully answered your question with that.
No, I mean that's it. That's the answer. Is like it's an uncertain decision,
Yeah,
but you feel like it's going the right direction. Is what it kind of sounds like.
yeah, yeah.
And it's
I
not
think
like
it'll all. I just have so much trust in the process. I think with anything, if you just continue to show up and try to add value, then it'll probably work itself out. And
yeah,
so maybe not work itself out like you want it to right this moment. And so I've certainly experienced that already with like things that I thought would occur sooner or differently, or, and they haven't, but I don't control those things, but I do control how I deal with them.
yeah. And I think that's the biggest thing is like planning for certain things is easy, but like nothing ever goes according to plan.
No.
And so it's tricky when people are like, it's got to be this way, this then, it's not gonna work like that. And it, like you said, it's all about how you react to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Someone that is very near and dear to me has recently reminded me of this. I had kind of an injury scare a couple weeks ago, which I'm good and I'm very grateful for. But it left me in a kind of an emotional state for a couple of days. Anyway, one of the things that she said then that she has said to me before that I just love is, we don't like trying to remember to not make long-term decisions based on short-term emotions. And so thinking about that with how we react to things, you know what I mean? Like whenever something occurs in business or in whatever, and like, oh, I feel this way about it, but like, do I need to act on that right this minute? Or can I sit with that for a minute and then maybe handle it a little bit better? Easier
I
said
like
than
that.
done,
No, it is easier said than done, but I do like that.
yeah, yeah.
Like, and that's a really powerful statement because I think that that's something that can easily occur. And like those short-term emotions of almost anything, you can tie this back to anything, can drastically impact relationships, like how you deal with relationships, jobs, everything in a split-second decision. And I mean,
Yeah.
who knows, like the whole Will Smith thing is a very
Oh,
like hot button, very big talking point right now, but that's like one of those things that like nobody knows what the fallout of that is going to be,
right.
you know,
Right.
like,
Well, nobody knows, all of the context around it. And I think just
yeah,
like remembering that, like, we are all humans out here trying. And so, like, whatever all occurred there, like, obviously, I think it's safe to assume that was not ideal for anyone involved.
yeah,
But like, each person is just a person doing the best that they can.
yeah.
And it's
And
better to
that's,
operate on that assumption than not, I think, anyways. I'd just rather believe that they're trying, and maybe they made a mistake, but we do that.
I agree.
Yeah.
So with all of this said, how have you tried to align yourself with like brands and partners that you've worked with? Because like, it's all a new thing to you and it's all, like, I feel like brands could just potentially just come right out of the woodwork to be like, hey, we see you're popular now. We see you're doing these things. Like we see this growth. Like we want to be in on the ground floor. Is that something that you've experienced? Like, are you, how have your experiences with that kind of growth been?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and I certainly should preface that on everything I've said so far, and certainly now, I'm not an expert on any of it. As far as like how I've handled it so far,
Yeah.
there have been a number of different opportunities come up, and it's so cool to have anybody show any interest in anything that you're up to. Like that's cool.
Yeah.
But as far as when it comes to the selection of like what I've chosen to do so far, it has been for me what is already a part of my life. And so not to say that I can't be aware of something else and think about it, but if you do experience growth on social media, then like I would assume that these companies at some point are either they're just putting their eyes on it or they have some sort of data. I don't know where they can see, oh, this is getting a lot of traction, it's getting a lot of views or whatever. And so it makes perfect sense. But I have just been very, if it's something that I already, like I already use the product, or I'm already, bought in on the culture, or I don't know, then that's how I've navigated it so far.
Mhm.
And so, because when you're growing too, you have to also remember that I feel, and this was something that was said to me by another good friend. I don't know, I've got a good support system.
Hey,
And so,
everybody needs it.
yeah, absolutely. And so they were like, well, you have to remember too that they may see an opportunity right now at low cost, right?
Yeah.
And so that's something to also be mindful of, that I do want to partner with brands and with different things that make sense for me. But also, I don't, just because things are being flung at me, it's like, okay, but is that even something? Certainly, is it a product that I take today? Is it even something I would be looking for?
Yeah.
Things like that. So I've been very reluctant to do anything unless it is already actively a part of my daily routine.
And that's good to hear, because I mean, I feel like there's a lot of people out there that kind of get that like trickling in of success or notability on social platforms, and then it's like they start promoting these really strange products, and I think that may even push people away and push other companies away.
I agree. I think it sends this signal of like not being authentic, and it's so hard. And yet again, I'm not saying that from a place of judgment, because you never know, that person may really need the income that could be produced by that partnership, or who knows what
Yeah,
their motivators are. So
true.
to each their own. And I'm grateful to not be in a position right now to like be in some need of some partnership that maybe doesn't align with who
Mhm.
I am at this point. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely, if you're thinking about, if you're, this is all yet again just like, oh, so now I have to put on this brain there, this cap of like, we do think about things from the perspective of like, what is the engagement, what is the growth, what is the, like, we have to
Yeah,
have a strategy.
yeah.
Now you're having fun, I don't know. um, so, but yeah, thinking about like, how is this messaging going to come across to the community that has decided to show up here? Because if I want them to stay, they need to feel connected to me, and they need to feel like I'm being real with them and I'm not just selling them stuff, because that is just going to like be really, really, really obviously not authentic.
Yeah. No, that's true, and I think a lot of this comes back to you being authentic in how you do everything, it seems like.
I try.
And yeah, fair, but it's just like that. It comes across to me when people look at your social, you'll see that it does come off as very authentic and very. Um, it seems like your personality comes out a lot. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, which is, the goofy and fun stuff. And I like love that I just wouldn't have created that content. Like I wouldn't have been doing this if it hadn't have been like, hey, go ahead, so it's so fun now to like do the voiceovers and do whatever and just be goofy. Like that's fun. But I
Yeah.
am also just definitely like, you know, craving that like like, I mean, I want to know about you. So this is actually like really hard to be interviewed right now and just be like, okay, but Justin, so like, how do you feel about that?
How do
That's
I feel?
put it back on you. Um, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think that comes across there because it's just, I don't know, just relating to other people. It's like, it's medicine.
Yeah. I
So
and I see that, and I appreciate that,
yeah.
and that's good to see. From me, and I'll tell you about me as a content creator. My content creator side of me is different. I actually struggle to put myself in front of the camera as much, because I was in this mindset of, this isn't why people are here. They're not here to see me. They're here to see the people I'm highlighting, you know?
Interesting. Okay.
So, and I've realized that's probably not the best way to go about it. And I have plans to make content that focuses more on my adventures, I will say, or my
Which is a
background.
lot of value to add too. I mean, there's a lot to your backstory as well. And I mean, you were a gym owner and I mean, you also are a pretty elite athlete. Like there's a lot of value that you have to offer outside of those things that I know as well.
You know what's funny is, like, in this will be episode 34. I don't think I've really talked about my background as an athlete or as a gym owner, more than just like in passing for a few seconds on the podcast. So
Which
it is
is
kind of funny.
it's a big part of your story.
It is, which is funny. But I just really, I mean, I'm interviewing people. I don't get interviewed.
Yeah.
But yes, I owned a gym. I owned CrossFit Solid Ground, which was in, Thornhill, Ontario, which is just north of Toronto. I guess our claim to fame was that during his first, when he was in school, chiropractic school, Patrick Vellner trained at my gym. But during that same time, I went to regionals as an individual in 2015. I went on a team in 2017, and that was in the Canada East region, which became the East region. So my first regionals appearance was when they first made the super regionals, where it was the Canada East against the Northeast. And I believe that year it was in Hartford. And that was my first year in the regional. And I think that was my third or fourth go at the open where I was like really trying to qualify. And a lot of the kind of I say failures, let's just say failures, but a lot of the failure associated with not making regionals those first 3 years really helped me learn and develop as an athlete, as a coach, and allowed me to get to the point where I could qualify when it was arguably the hardest year to date to qualify for the regionals. So that was kind of a cool thing, and a lot of growth and a lot of learning from, I say my mistakes, but it's not necessarily my mistakes. It's just learning and growing as an athlete.
Yeah.
And so that's my story. And then, I picked up a camera, and now I have this dual personality where sometimes you see me as a coach and as a athlete where I can speak to those things. And then sometimes you see me as a content creator where I can speak to those things, where I'm on the other side of the camera, the other side of the lens, and I can, highlight people like yourself.
Well, and being multifaceted, I mean, I think it's really, really cool. You don't have to pigeonhole yourself entirely. I mean, I understand to some extent that, sort of getting a niche matters or whatever. Yeah. But at the end of the day, all of those pieces are you.
Oh, yeah.
I think that you have, you have been very helpful with me because, spoiler alert world, muscle ups, no. We'll do them, really not great. We're working on it. But anyway, you immediately wanted to reach out and be like, okay, well, here are some tools. And you went above and beyond with that. And I would think that would be content that would be appreciated by, the people who follow along. Yeah. Maybe they showed up because you posted Ellie or Pat, but that's value too.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
And that's where it's tricky for me is I've kind of separated those two personalities. Yeah. I have my Coach Tamani and my Tamani Photography, and they're two different accounts and two different pages to separate and highlight those things. But I think people on either side would find value in the other side. But for business purposes, I've kept it separate. Yeah. And for, it would feel weird to have them as one big page because people would just be like, what is happening? We got this over here. Then he's coaching, and then he's taking a photo of some other person. Yeah. So for that reason, I've kept it separate, but I've found it actually kind of funny that people, based on when they met me, know me as something different. So I moved in 2020. So I've found that a lot of the people who are in the area that I live in now see me as photographer, videographer, content guy. Everybody from where I was from, where my gym used to be, he's the coach, he's a CrossFit coach. And I don't even know if some of them know that I take photos and take pictures and do these things. Yeah. So I think it's funny. And people are like, no, but that's a whole you. But I'm like, I know that. And if you know me well, you know that. Right. But if you don't know me that well and you're just a passerby, social media, just, acquaintance. Yeah. Then you see one or the other, which I think is I like it kind of. I secretly like it.
You like the compartmentalization of it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I can just shut off my brain when I do one thing and then shut off my brain when I do the other thing. And then, oddly though, the photography and videography side goes hand in hand with my coaching side. So I know what to look for. I know parts of the movement. I know what not to show. Wow. That's an important thing too.
As a creator.
As a creator, as a CrossFit person who loves CrossFit, I never want to highlight something that doesn't look, I wouldn't say perfect, but ideal or good. So
Sure.
like a bad lockout, you
Right.
know, something like that. I would say like a fail. Like I'm not going to highlight
Right.
like a gym fail. Like we don't need more gym fail videos being directed at CrossFit. I will never show anything like that.
That's so, oh, that hits home because that's what happened with my, which I'm okay, but with my, when I failed the lift that I failed, naturally, I'm totally okay somehow, but it was pretty scary a couple weeks ago. Somebody was there joking about that. And I was like, we don't preemptively
No,
do that.
no,
But
no, no.
anyway, I don't mean to, but I'm so with you that we want to promote the sport for what God, I mean, at the end of the day, I will say my body was able to handle that and somehow be okay. I think largely thanks to all of the training that it has undergone over the past 6+ years in CrossFit. You know, if I didn't have the mobility and the range of motion and all of that stuff that I do have, like that probably would have gone a lot worse.
Yeah.
And so like, I agree, you know, wanting to promote it because the good, you know, what it has the ability to do for people. I don't know.
No, I agree with you. Like we want to promote the sport in the light that we perceive it in.
Mhm.
And I think that I don't want to speak for you,
Functional
but for
movement saves
myself,
lives.
what's
Like
that?
I said, functional movement saves lives.
Yeah, and like the ability to move your own body weight and control your own body weight to make yourself stronger, uh, improve all those aspects of your life, create a healthier lifestyle. Like that's the stuff that I want to promote from a CrossFit standpoint and a fitness standpoint. Like nobody needs to see somebody miss a lift because they're trying their best or they have not necessarily the best direction with what they're doing and they're like overshooting on it.
Mhm.
Like there's coaches out there who are cheerleaders as opposed to coaches.
Mhm.
And it's tricky to distinguish for a new person where that the influence of the coach and the rah attitude of like, yeah, you got that. Like, let's go PR, go up, go up, go up. Like that's the cheerleader side that unfortunately exists in the space as opposed to the coaching side that's like, no, let's taper it back, take 20% off the bar, work on these kind of specific things for 2 months, and then we'll go do it. Because
Mhm.
that's hard for people to hear.
Yeah.
But that's like good coaches will take you back a step and we'll knock you down a peg and allow you to be able to go up 10 steps.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I showed up to CrossFit in my 20s
Yeah.
and, you know, I, I was introduced to it and I remember the guy that I worked with that was like, oh, you know, it's a new gym and come check it out. And he was one of the first members. And I remember just getting a membership and driving around the block and going home because like more than once. And then I
Yeah.
canceled the membership and I didn't come back for 3 years. I was so scared of it. And I think that, you know, that barrier of entry for people is something that we often forget about it. Cause by now I'm so comfortable in that space. Like I live there, you know, and it's,
Yeah.
and I could do anything there, you know, but, except for muscle ups. Well, but anyway, but that's, you know, that's a part of most people's story when it comes to getting involved in the gym. And even if they were like growing up, say maybe they were an athlete and they got out of it and now they're trying to come back and just improve their quality of life again after having had 5-10 years off or whatever. Those fears are something that most people definitely like experience and that's just part of it. But where I don't even remember where I was going with that. I'm so sorry.
No, that's okay.
Uh,
Hey, we're just talking about life in the gym and how intimidating it can be.
mhm.
For
Yeah.
somebody new, it's extremely intimidating. But I think that's with anything new, it can be intimidating. Like the first time you hit share on one of those reels or when the first time you shared a really deep post that
Yeah.
you're like put considerable effort into writing, there's
Yeah.
a real big hesitation before you hit share if it's going to go well, if it's going to be well perceived, if it's going to come off the right way, or
Yeah.
people are going to like it.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's why people don't do it more.
Mhm.
And it's actually, I think it's why I haven't put myself in front of the camera as much for some of the work I've done on the photography side of things and the videography side of things.
Mhm.
Um,
I will
is
say,
my sorry?
no, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say that's my like I don't want to say my fear. Like I don't have a fear. Like like it's social media. Like it'll.
It is
If I
okay.
don't want it to be there, it's not there.
Yeah, it's okay if it's a fear. It's a fear for most people. I
Yeah.
mean, I've listened to other creators in not necessarily the fitness space, but talk about their experiences with their own growth in social media and the challenges that they face. And that is certainly one that gets addressed all the time, is the fear of acceptance and the fear of, is this going to go well? And,
Yeah.
is this going to be received well, or whatever. But things to think about and things that I remind myself of with that is, did I create it because I liked it? If I liked it, then that's my page,
Yeah.
and so I need to post, create this content, whatever, because it's something that resonates with me. And if it
Yeah.
resonates with me, then I'm going to go ahead and do it. And certainly now that I'm doing a little bit more volume as far as how much I'm posting, having the understanding that not everything's going to hit. It's just not going to.
Yeah.
And but that doesn't mean that you don't do it anyway. If you enjoyed doing it, if it felt right for you, whatever, then you just do it. And you never know what's going to like stick or what's not. But so there was a time, oh, I don't know how long ago, but uh, I would say within the last year, but certainly more than 6 months ago, where I actually turned off my like counts for a while because I heard it recommended from another person. And I was like, at that time, that was a good idea for me, because the idea behind that, and maybe that's a good idea for you or for someone listening at this time, is, this arbitrary number doesn't determine its value. Like, if it was valuable for me, then it was valuable. If I wanted
Yeah.
to create it, then I wanted to create it, and I should be proud of it. I was proud enough of it to post it to begin with. So now how it's received, as long as I'm not hurting anyone in whatever I'm doing, or, then okay, you did it because you liked it. So like it, stand by it.
I think that's a really strong message for a lot of people.
Yeah,
And I think
it's something to think about with if you're somebody out there who is creating content, who's trying to do more, who's trying to get a message across, you got to do what's right for you. And there's going to be fluctuations with the growth, or you come back, there's going to be fluctuations with all of that. That's just like the reality of it.
yeah.
And at the end of the day, the people that are meant to be there will be there. And if they're not, that's okay too. And so that's the conversation I have with myself in regards to what's going on my social media, is that if it dips down or if the growth stops, because of course, I've had moments where it's like growing by 1,000 or more every day for a few days, and it's crazy. And then it slows down to like, oh, today we only grew by 100. And like, who knows, maybe I will drop down a bit. That's a very realistic possibility tomorrow.
Yeah.
And so if my value is determined by those numbers, then I've got a problem. And so for me, I just have to remember, like, did I, what was the reason, what is the reason I'm doing this? Does it matter to me? And then the people that want to consume this are the people that I want to hang out with. And if you
Yeah.
don't want to consume it, that's cool.
That's perfect.
It's,
That's perfect.
yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, it's such a healthy attitude to go into this kind of space with.
Yeah.
Right? Like for people who are I feel like there's low-hanging fruit and there's easy ways to get likes and attention on social media.
Yeah.
And I don't see you doing that.
Yeah. I mean, I know for a fact that like the single photo posts or whatever, and then I like write a bunch of words because I love to write a bunch of words. Like I know that those are like not going to, they're going to reach now, because I have the insights turned on as of very, very recently. New here. Anyway, I know now that like those are not going to see nearly the engagement or all the reach to the people who do not follow me, so trying to build a follow, whatever. Like I know that those are not going to have the same reach. I'm not going to get the same amount of engagement on them. But that stuff is so important to me. And so like I'm doing it anyway, you know? And so I know that there are certain types of reels in general right now. I mean, Instagram is just loving those. But you know, there are certain types of them that I know like, oh, this one's, you know, more likely based on data history. Like this is gonna probably perform better when it comes to gaining attention. So that has its place. But what also has its place is like what you want to say.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is if you showed up for the goofy voiceover, great. If you showed up for the recap of my open workout, great. Now you're probably going to see one of those still photo posts that doesn't get nearly as much traction, but talks about something that is very meaningful to me. And maybe it resonates with you and maybe it doesn't, but it's my page.
It's my page and
It's
I'm
my
doing
page.
whatever I want. I like it.
I'm not
That's
hurting
awesome.
anyone else.
Let's say that one more time.
As long as I'm not hurting anyone else.
No. Yeah, I mean that's another thing. And obviously that's like a life lesson, like, you know, do your own thing. Don't worry about other people. But yeah, no, I love the way you put it out. I would love the way you put out your energy on social media, and I love the way that you bring a very lighthearted, fun element to everything. And I really appreciate that.
Thank you. It's so cool to hear anybody think that it's because some of that stuff is so lighthearted and then some of it is so not lighthearted. And so
No.
like to know that that's the feel, you know, because that's you can be both.
Yeah.
You know, you can be the goofy, funny, whatever, and then you can be this person that's like all up in their feels and sometimes feels like paralyzed by their own emotions, and like that's okay too.
Yes.
Just
I
part of
agree.
human.
It's being human.
Yeah.
All right. On that note, Claire, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Thank you to anyone who stuck around this long. Yeah, this is a cool opportunity. This is the first podcast I've ever done, so we'll have to mark that down.
Really?
First
Oh. I feel like I'm on the ground floor with some of this stuff with
Yeah.
you know, I was a big Reels or Instagram supporter from the beginning.
You're a real one. You were seriously in the ground floor. I don't even know. It's so weird. It's so weird. You, and then there are a couple of other creators as well that I've gotten to know through, and I feel like we're in this journey together, you know, like you're learning so much as a creator. Maybe what we do isn't exactly the same. Your talent is totally different.
No.
But anyway, you know, like we have this shared experience of like, we're just like learning this space together.
Yeah.
And
there's not a lot of people that have it figured out. And they're the people who have it figured out, you can tell they got it kind of figured out.
Yeah. Yeah. But they've spent a lot of time and energy doing that.
Yes. Yeah.
So, and we're coming in here.
So on that note, where are you going to be next? Can anybody, do you have any semifinals you're going to be at? Is there anything coming up that you want to talk about? Or are we, I know you got something, but I don't know if you can talk about it.
That's the gray area. Yeah. So I will definitely, you know, I mean, I think it's safe to say that you can definitely be expecting to see me at the larger CrossFit events in some way, shape, or form. So we are working on a project right now with WIT, and that will be doing some brand awareness stuff in the United States. So there's not really a whole lot concrete that I can share there, but that's kind of the upcoming project. But as far as specifics, I don't really you can find me on Instagram and I'll be doing whatever I do on there. And yeah, I wish I could give you more concrete there, but then again, I also don't mind that I can't.
No, hey, that's perfect.
Okay.
Go to the Instagram, follow along, and then we'll see you soon.
We'll have fun.
Awesome, guys. This has been the Difference Makers. Thanks for listening. Take care.